They got it fixed.
I'm disconnecting everything else from the Wi-Fi here in my office. I don't want to
No
contribute to
problem.
any problems today.
Listen, I think we're live on Facebook. Let me check. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Let's see, Justin. I think we're live. Let me make sure though. We are live. Let me check on YouTube. Hello, hello, everyone. Check in, check in. I'm just making sure we are live everywhere, and then we will get started in just a couple of minutes. And I think we are live. If you are checking in, let me know where you're checking in from. I know I got some fam, maybe from Cincinnati watching. I know I got my ATL peeps watching. Let me mute y'all because I know y'all like to ask a lot of questions to Justin because I told him he's like our resident counselor. He just doesn't know it. I was like, I know, technically you're not on the payroll or anything, but here we are. All right. All right. I think we are live. Okay. If you are, hold on, I'm gonna mute y'all over here. How do I mute y'all over here, guys? Excuse me, guys. Technology, story of my life, confused
Right.
per usual. Per the usual. So if you are watching, check in. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can see me. Give me a thumbs up or a hey girl, whistle in the comments section. And this time we're gonna hear Justin the whole time. Y'all remember the first time I had him on, we could not hear him like the first like
Oh no.
solid 5 minutes.
Oh no.
Now we can hear you because we're gonna be able to hear you. So
I mean, check
all right,
one,
I
check
think.
two.
All right, I see. I love your lovely wife. Hey, Monica girl.
I've sent the link out.
Look, right. Y'all, we working over here. Give us a second. All right. So I think I can see everybody. Yep, I can see everybody. Perfect. Hi guys. I haven't seen y'all. I feel like in like 2, 3 weeks, which is a long time. I haven't seen Justin like in live in a while. So if this is your first time, welcome. My name is Lauren Denise, host of this Two Shall Suck podcast, where we talk about the real of grief, the whole grief, and nothing but the grief. And I am joined here by the amazing Justen DeBowles, licensed professional counselor. If you don't know about Justin, I tell him all the time. Again, he's like our resident psychologist or counselor. He's
There we
our
go.
resident. There we go. Just leave it at that. He's our resident counselor here. He joined us on season 1 when we talked all about coronavirus and all of the anxiety around the pandemic and all of the crazy stuff. And last time I had him on, you guys were asking all the questions. And so I thought it would be great to bring him on to talk more about what I discussed in season 2, episode 1. If you have not listened to season 2, episode 1, it is available now on all listening platforms, also on YouTube. We are now on Pandora. Super excited. So it is available now, and I discussed holiday grief or seasonal grief and how to recognize it and some tips to get you through it because obviously it's something that I have to deal with and have dealt with now for the past really 5 years or so. So I thought it was important going into, especially this week, going into Thanksgiving, going into all of the wonderful love that is the holiday season, to be able to recognize it and how to be able to deal with it. So I wanted to bring a professional on to talk about it. Like y'all know, I love Justin. Y'all love Justin. So, Justin, thank you for being here again. I
Uh,
appreciate it.
of course, of course. Glad to be here.
And of course, if y'all have questions, I'm monitoring. Hey, Daddy. I'm monitoring on Facebook and YouTube. So, or if you have my phone number, you can text me, send me a message. What I got all the devices over here to get your questions answered. So just drop them in the comments. If something comes up as we're talking, let us know if you like it. And yeah, so To get started, Justin, for those who don't know you, even though they should at this point, if you can tell them a little bit about your background. I didn't even read your bio. I'm tripping, but I want them to get the real raw experience of Justin. So you can just tell them a little bit about your background, how long you've been doing it, and kind of what your focus is, being a licensed professional counselor.
Okay. Thank you for that introduction. That was wow. I feel loved. Um, so let's see. I've been in counseling for probably about 10 years now. Again, licensed counselor in the state of Georgia. I operate at my currently at my practice right now up in Dunwoody. I see individuals, couples, um, families, and um, my passion and my background is really on building social relationships and especially helping our people start to undo some of the hurt that has been done to us that we tend to keep doing to each other and really start to build better relationships with each other. So I'm glad to be here today to talk about the seasons, and that's really a big social time, especially in our culture. But with that can come a lot of different stress, a lot of grief, a lot of things like that. So I'm glad y'all got me here today.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm glad too. And I'm listening to you. I'm just trying to make sure these comments, because
Oh, I
people
understand.
like to text me. I'm like, yo, I'm literally in the middle of a live, but that's fine as well. Um, well, thank you for that. So, if you could talk a little bit about seasonal grief, because, people obviously this time of year, as I spoke about in my podcast, is full of love and family and all of these things. So, I know they say, I think what was it, like 20% of Americans? It's a big majority of like Americans like suffer from seasonal grief during this time. So can you talk a little bit about what seasonal grief is, like a definition of what it is, so people can understand what it is going into these next few months, really?
So seasonal grief kind of ties into seasonal depression, which is an actual psychological condition that a lot of people deal with, and it refers to a type of depression or grief that hits a person only during certain times of the year. Occasionally, some people will try to dismiss it, but it's very very real. And for some people, it happens around maybe Valentine's Day. Sometimes for some people, it happens around New Year's. But some of the most potent seasonal grief that occurs happens around Thanksgiving, Christmas, and birthdays. Those will probably be three of the biggest ones. So as we start to go into the Thanksgiving season, for a lot of people, the grief that they're feeling right now, or that they're starting to feel, comes from maybe family members that are gone, maybe traditions that can't be done, um, or just changes that have occurred in your life that don't allow you to do that, get that same good old feeling that you may have had back in the day. Or on the flip side, it could be a situation where maybe negative things happened around this time of year, and now as you start to get back into that, some of those same feelings are starting to come back solely just because of the time of year that it is. So there are a lot of people who are starting to feel a lot of new emotions that are coming up as we start to get into November, December, going into January and February over this 4 month span. And it gets very important for people to be able to recognize that sort of grief and depression that comes around these times of year so that you can already anticipate it, you see it coming, and you can start to have certain things already set up in place for you to prevent yourselves from falling into a deep sort of dark hole that you typically may find yourself at this time of year.
That's good. So I have some questions already, but Naomi, I see your question. Naomi, I'm gonna come back to your question because I think that's a good question. But I just wanted to dive a little bit more into what you said about people recognizing, the signs and knowing that
Hmm.
it's coming. So how do you recognize that you may be in a seasonal depression or that seasonal grief is coming? Like, how am I, like today, if I'm like, I don't feel good today. How do I differentiate, like, I just don't feel good today, or if this may be a seasonal grief or seasonal depression that's happening?
So, one of the biggest things in regards to being able to identify things that are really kind of weighing heavily on your mental health is when it's consistent and when it lingers. So, everyone has bad days. That can come any time of year, that can come any day, that can come almost any time of day. But when you're starting to have consistently bad days or consistent periods of feeling really down, really out of it, and they're starting to interfere with your ability to function in your normal life and responsibilities, that's normally when, okay, something else may be going on. What started Monday as I didn't want to wake up and go to work today, and here we are on Friday, and I still don't want to wake up and go to work today. Is this my job or is this something else? And when it starts to really linger, and you're talking about multiple weeks, you've been feeling this way, there's more going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with you. So I'm gonna put a pin in that because I want to get this question answered. So Naomi said, our people that think going to a therapist to talk is a no-go, which I agree. How do you make a person feel comfortable to want to talk?
Read that again for me.
So Naomi said, our people are people that think that going to a therapist to talk is a no-go. How do you make a person feel comfortable to want to talk?
Okay, Naomi, that's an excellent question. I had her read it again. I didn't understand the R in the beginning at
I know
first.
I need
So
to say our and then
yeah, I
our.
was you got me right there. Um, so you're Naomi, you're absolutely right. Our people tend to think that talking to somebody is a sign of weakness. Opening up is a sign of weakness. And granted, this is in a different topic, but the reason that we do that is because typically when we have been friendly and opened up in the past, a lot of times it's gotten black people in bad situations. So again, wholly different subject, not going down that rabbit hole at the
That's
moment.
okay. Look, let me look. Talking
So
about
how do you
episode on.
how do you make people feel more comfortable to talk? That's generally through encouragement. Let them
Mm,
don't make people feel don't shame people for not wanting to open up and not wanting to talk. Just be encouraging. Let them know, hey, I'm there. I'm with you. If you want to talk, great. I'd like for you to. If you don't, that's okay too. I'm going to love you and support you all the same. So still get express what it is that you like them to do, express that you would want them to talk, but also let them know that you're going to love them all the same, regardless of if they feel comfortable enough to do that yet.
yeah, no, I like that, and I feel like I'm about to go in a deep dive, so I'm trying not to, but because I mean that's good, right? Hey guys, I see y'all checking in. How y'all doing? So how is it? Because I have friends who confide in me and say different things to me, and they see me in therapy, and they're like, "Why I need to go to a therapist? Like, you're my therapist," and I'm like, "No, not certified. Like, not certified." But again, like listening to you saying, "Don't shame them. Be encouraging." Like, how do you find that balance of like being able to be encouraging, giving the advice, wanting them like because I do encourage to say like, listen, like the reason that I'm able to give you this advice and speak to you is because I go to therapy myself and I have to work through it. How do you balance like trying to be there for them? Like I feel like I try not to be there for them too much because I want you to go to therapy. Like I want you to go, but like I don't know how to like pull back and not be there for you because I'm afraid if I'm not, you know what I mean? Like I don't know where that balance is with that.
Okay, no, I got you. That is something that, as you can imagine, I deal with a lot. um, Having a pretty decent circle of friends, yeah, I go through that a lot.
Right.
So the balance comes in when that well starts to get full. So when you find that you're unable to really help somebody, you're unable to really walk them through verbally, then it may be time for that person to seek a therapist, or if it's something that makes you feel uncomfortable. So I believe people need to know their boundaries about how much they can help or how much they want to hear.
Mm,
Because there's nothing. I believe every person. I believe everybody should have though that one or two people that they can confide in and take things to. Because honestly, sometimes what you need is just a second opinion on a certain
that's it.
situation.
Right.
But once that second opinion once that second or third opinion doesn't fix the situation, doesn't help the situation, then it's time to get professional help. It doesn't make you a broken individual, doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It's, hey, I don't know how to help you with this. And that's an okay statement to tell people is I don't know how to help you with this situation. I don't know how to help you with what you're dealing with right now. I can be encouraging, I can be supportive. I don't know exactly what to tell you to help you, but I think I know someone that may be able to do that.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's good. Naomi said, I agree, but when the damage is so bad, they won't talk.
Okay. Then in that situation, and you all, though, for those that have ever heard me speak before, I do tend to just give it to you outright and very real.
And that's
You
what we
can be
like.
encouraged. Everyone can be encouraging. Everyone can be supportive, but there come certain times, just like physically with our bodies, we can deal with a lot of stuff, but sometimes you do get so sick that you have to go see somebody. Sometimes our relationships, sometimes our mental state does get sick enough to all the encouragement in the world may not help us, and it's time to talk. And in the event that talking, opening up, trying to work on it does not is not happening, then you have to really think about the future of what you and that individual, I'm assuming it's a relationship, what you all are going to do.
Hmm.
There come periods and times when relationships do need help. They do need support. They do need assistance. And if both parties aren't willing to get that, then you may have reached that point of impasse where you need to take a step back and think about the future of the relationship at all.
That's real.
Just
That's
being
real.
honest.
That's real. You heard that, Naomi? That's real.
I'm just being honest.
That's real. I mean, you're being real. I mean, it is what it is. There's been several times listen, I'm not going to throw him in the mud, but my last relationship, I was like, listen, we need to get couples counseling. He told me no, your girl's single. So, you got to do what you got to do for you. And if somebody, like you said, doesn't want to get help and you've tried and it's wearing on you and who you are, then you the
Because
only person to take care of you.
because Lauren, a lot of times when people are so adamantly against it, it's because they still have some sort of stigma mentally in regards to how they view counseling.
Agreed. I agree.
And that could be for a number of reasons. That could be because they don't want to get deep into their own stuff. That could be because they're afraid of what may come up in counseling. It could be the mindset of there's nothing wrong with me. I don't need to go talk to anybody. A number of things could be going on, but that person still has some block in regards to counseling.
Agreed. No, I agree with you. Trust me. Again, single. So, Naomi, you gonna make me go on a deep dive. Naomi, we supposed to be talking about seasonal grief. This is the last. I'm just playing.
Are we getting to it?
Yes, we are sister friends, but the anger that comes with it is crazy. Capital lies, crazy.
I
That's
would I would tell Naomi if it's her anger, then I would recommend she see someone on her own first to work through that, and then see what you can do as far as coming together. If it's the other person's anger, just flip it. I would recommend that person get through their anger first,
mm-hmm.
then work on something together. It's very difficult to work on two individuals when one individual is still unable to own up to what they have going on. Just being honest.
That's a word. Did y'all hear that? That's a word. Okay. Don't even get me started. Cause see, we about to go on a deep dive in a whole nother situation, and that's a whole nother episode. Okay. Cause but no, for real. If y'all have any more questions or anything, please feel free to put them. I'm monitoring YouTube and Facebook and my messages. So, um, back to seasonal holiday grief.
Hmm.
So let's talk about triggers. So one of the things I talked about in the episode is knowing your triggers and when knowing where and when those triggers can happen. So for example, one of the examples that I used was going to your aunt's house for Thanksgiving and seeing pictures of you and your ex-husband or you and your mom or you and whatever the loss is. And seeing those triggers and knowing, but it's like, but I always go to my aunt's house. Like I don't want to not go to my aunt's house, just because maybe like I might see a picture of me and Joe there. So it's like, do I not go because I know I could be triggered, or do I go and create? And another example I use was having an exit plan. Um, so how do you like people who are going through that? Like, I still want to go be with my family, but how do I combat those triggers? Well, I think the first step is number one, like recognizing, which I think is great.
Right.
But then, like, once you recognize there may be triggers, how do I deal with that? Because I still want to be functional within this holiday season. I just don't know how to do it because everything around me is triggering.
Okay. I believe one thing that every person needs to start giving themselves is space, temporary space.
Agreed.
So when I say temporary space, y'all, I'm talking about have an escape. If you need to, I love that you said have that exit plan. Have a way of somewhere to go, something to do where you can just go and get yourself some time to yourself to calm down. That's your coping skill over this next couple of over these next 2 months of big family interactions. A lot of things will be thrown at you, a lot of triggers will be thrown your way, and you've got to have a way to put up a boundary between yourself and your triggers, even if temporarily, so you can still function in those family environments. Now, there's a couple of folks, let me say a couple of folks, there's going to be times when you may just not want to be around them. And guys, that's fine.
Also an option. Also
that's
an option.
that's totally fine. If you were like, you know what, I can't do it this year. This year has been rough enough. I can't deal with certain things or certain people. I'm not going to expect you all to be Superman or Superwoman and just magically be okay that day. If it is too much to bear, it's okay to see yourself out.
Yeah, and it is what it is.
I saw something. I saw something. I want to say about a week ago, and somebody said there's a difference between family and a relative, and I really really like that because it speaks to family being an actual close knit group of people that may or may not be related through blood, and relatives are people that are absolutely related by blood, whether or not you like them or not.
Mm,
So in regards to that, your actual family, the people that do support you, that do uplift and encourage you, generally will be understanding of the fact that you have to excuse yourself. Something's difficult. And the individuals that aren't that understanding, or the individuals that at least aren't willing to try to be understanding, you've just learned something about how close they should be to you.
ooh, yikes!
Sorry, I'm
It's
just
the
being
truth. You coming
honest.
to y'all house today, honey? It's the truth.
So,
It's the truth. I like that. Family is understanding. Blood
right,
sometimes it's not. Luckily for me, that's not been my experience. Like,
good.
obviously, like now losing both my parents, like my family on my mom's side, clearly they have to go through their own grief. Family on my dad's side have to go through their own grief. We just learn how to kind of like work through it. But
Right,
I think you said something. I love that you said putting boundaries between you and your triggers. I think that I like that statement a lot because something that I did say, like I say, having an escape plan and understanding your triggers. I didn't think about like having boundaries with the triggers to say, you know what, like I can't go to Aunt Teresa's house, but if I get to a certain place and I'm not like I'm starting to feel weird, like I'm gonna leave.
right.
It's
Leave.
fine. I,
That's
I'm gonna
that's
leave.
totally fine.
I'm gonna leave. Or I shared that sometimes you may go in the bathroom and like just need a minute. Like I just like this is getting a little overwhelming. Like I need a minute, so I'm gonna go like to the bathroom and mind my business. So you made some great points, and again, if y'all listen to my episode, I said some of these points. Okay. um, hold on, let me see what Naomi said. I would like some information how she can reach you. Okay, Naomi, we're going to share his information at the end of this live. So then you can share it with your sister friend, with your brother friend, with your boyfriend. You can share it with whoever. Justin is an open book, which that's why I love him because he's like, yeah,
Truly
just
am.
call me like whatever. And I'm like, Justin, these people gonna be calling you. Like, don't do that. Um, okay. So here's a question. How can you as a how can you as a person recognize that there is a depression if the other person covers it up so well? So I assume you're talking about like recognizing it within another person if they don't realize it, or are you talking about within yourself, Naomi? Give me a little bit of clarification on that. I just want to make sure I'm asking it properly. How can you as a person recognize that there is a depression if the other person covers it up so well? So I'm going to assume you mean like recognizing it in the other
Hmm.
person if they cover it up. That's what I'm going to
You
assume.
may not. That is a good question. So you may not be able to exactly tell that it's a depression, but human beings tend to be creatures of habit. And so if you notice that your significant other or a friend even is their behaviors have changed, it's okay to have a conversation about that change. And based upon how that conversation goes, you may be able to infer some information about that. What I mean is, if you decide to talk to someone just about how they've been feeling lately, and the response that you get back is snappy, the response that you get back is evasive, the response is just a kind of an unhealthy response, then it's okay. It's you may be able to think, okay, but wait a minute, something's going on. If this person's entire personality seems to have changed, or you start to notice them doing different behaviors if you're around them that much, then it's okay to ask questions, start to look into that. I don't want to tell you to just assume that they're depressed outright, but that goes back to the question that she had earlier about getting someone to be open to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
But guys, be careful with self-diagnosing. That can that's a bit of a slippery slope. Yeah, just try to be easy about that. That sometimes we may look at someone and throw a diagnosis out there, and they may just be going through something.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's real because we real good to be like, I think they're depressed. And it's like,
Right.
maybe they just had a bad day. Maybe work just got on their nerves. So to touch on that, so if we're talking about like this seasonal grief and we think about depression, like you always think of like major depression when
Hmm.
you're sad and you're in the bed and like you said, consistently like just having a bad day. What if you're like a high functioning depression? Because that's a thing, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Hmm.
Like so what if you're kind of in that space? Like, you may obviously feel sad during this season for, whatever the loss is, but you're high functioning. So you're like, it's fine. But then one moment, like, it just crashes and you're like, where did this come from? Like, I've been fine.
Okay. So one thing that a lot of times we have to, it's interesting. We tend to use the word sad to describe depression all the time, when in
Hmm.
reality, grief and depression will not always look like sadness.
Nope.
Um, One of the ways that a lot of and especially one of the ways in which we show that we're depressed is not through your typical sadness. One of the ways in which we tend to deal with our depression or give signs that we're depressed, it comes in frustration and anger.
Mm,
If we have been pretty much on the ball with our job, our family, other things like that, but then you're noticing things are starting to fall through the cracks more often. We're not as tight as we used to be. We're not as on point as we used to be. It could be hygienal changes.
mm,
You see what I mean? So there were a lot of different signs that could be there to show that a person may be starting to get depressed.
right.
But a lot of times you're not going to be able to know or see all of these up front. It's when stuff starts to hit the fan is when I'm is that's generally when it's obvious. But until you get to that point, the best thing that a lot of you all can do is just to try to be supportive, try to be encouraging, and try to create an open and safe space for that person to open up if they want to.
That's the key word, if they
Hmm.
want to. Because you can't, that I think I've had to learn that the most, like during my process, you can't force someone to talk. You can't force someone to share their emotions. I mean, they just may not be ready and they may
Hmm.
never be ready. But I think that comes back to your point of like coming to an impasse. And I feel like
Right.
a lot of times during this season, like people don't quite understand, like, dang, she's moody. Like, literally, I fell out with a couple of my friends last year because one of them said I had been moody. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, because my dad died in August. My mom is passed away. Like, I don't know. No other reason why I'm moody, but you know, what'd she say? Naomi said they drink all the time, but they also drink more when there are issues.
That's a way to silence the voices generally. Um, that that's a very that's a very momentarily effective but long term ineffective way to not have those feelings affect you as much anymore.
Yeah, it what is it? What do they say? It lowers your inhibitors.
Oh, totally,
Yeah, yeah. So
totally.
let's kind of talk about that. A lot of these I call them unhealthy coping mechanisms. Do you see a lot of times during this season that people go through a lot of those unhealthy coping mechanisms, like drinking? Some people use sex as one of them, drugs. Like, do you see that amped up a lot more during this season?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely, you see that. We see in the counseling field, we see a lot of people who are just trying to survive family get-togethers or friend get-togethers or whatever the tradition may be. They're just trying to make it through it all. And so, as a result, whatever will get them through, whatever their drug of choice is, they tend to use a lot more.
Mm,
So,
yeah,
most definitely people do. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So something that I read and that I shared on my podcast, and something that you touched on, like, when you're in those moments to like have your time and have your boundaries and have that alone time, but also it's good to be around people. So like I think a lot of people heard that. I was like, that's contradictory. But do you think that's a good measure to say like it's good for you to have your alone time, but also you need that, as we talked about in season one, that support network?
Hmm.
Like, is that equally as important as having your alone time?
That speaks to the balance that we have to start to create within our lives. Um, we're definitely social creatures. We're not made to be here by ourselves. I mean, you look in the prison system, and generally the worst place to be is in isolation. So in solitary confinement. So we're social creatures, guys. So I say that you want those people that support, that enrich, that encourage you. You want them around you, but at the same time, there are limits to how much socialization anybody can have, and especially if you're dealing with triggers, you're gonna want some alone time in order to reset. It's totally fine. It's finding that balance between the two. So have a space in your house, or if you're going to someone else's house, if you drove yourself your car, I mean whatever it is, just have a place you can go just to sit down and breathe. And if you have to fake it by say you're just admiring the white furniture room, whatever it is, what use what you have to, but create a space where you can go in order to get some time to yourself and just breathe and reset from the triggers that you may be experiencing.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. So it's, I mean, I feel like everything with this season is about balance and just trying to
Right.
understand and try and get through. So what do you say to those people? This is their first kind of season where they're feeling this like seasonal depression or seasonal grief. Like, what do you say to those? I mean, because for me, like, again, this is my fifth holidays without my mom, my second one without my dad. That doesn't mean that like it's made it easier for me or like I'm an expert at it. I've just learned to adjust,
Right.
obviously, during this time and throughout my life. But what do you say to that person who's listening and this is their first time saying, like, I don't know what to do? Like, I hear you talking about recognizing my triggers. Cool. Maybe I can recognize them. I hear you talking about, having my alone time, but also being here. Like, but I don't know.
So two things off rip. The first thing I would recommend that person to do if they're just noticing that they're not feeling it. Something's off, they're not feeling it, is one thing that involves others, one thing that doesn't involve others. Um, for the more personal, private thing you can do, I encourage everyone to just jot down how you're feeling. Just
That's
just
good.
just write down how you're feeling sometimes.
That's good.
Just to keep track, just to keep record of it. But just jot down what you're thinking about, how you're feeling, and what you'll find out is you'll be surprised as you start writing that your thoughts will start to that cohesion will start to happen on the page, and you'll actually be going through those emotions as you're writing them down. It helps a lot. The second thing that I recommend people do, this is the one that does involve people, is if you're not feeling it, I pray that you have at least one person that you can just call, just pick up the phone. Pick up the phone, talk to somebody, and just, hey man, I feel off. Or hey girl, I feel off. I don't know, something's been bothering me lately. And just talk to that trusted person that you have in your life. It may be a family member, it may be a friend. Um, it, we don't know who it may be, but one thing I would definitely recommend that you not do not seek support for it on social media. Don't just put it, I'm sorry guys, don't just put it out there to the
Don't
ethos.
don't put your life on Facebook.
Yeah, don't just put it out there to the world, because if you're already in that precarious spot, you're leaving it up to chance in that
Hmm.
case. And that can be very, very dangerous. Don't put that out there, because again, we're talking about it being that person's first one.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that
That's
first one is going to feel very different. It's going to feel strange. It's going to feel very foreign. And in that instance, the only people you should really be talking to are those that are actually trusted.
that's good. No, that's good. So don't make Facebook your diary.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
And so many words or less. So, you talked about like having that person or persons to talk to. So, do you think it's a good idea to maybe like write down like names in your journal? As you're talking
Sure.
about the journaling, write down like, okay, I can call. I see Janine's on. Like, I can call Janine, or I can call Sydney or Nicole or Portia. Like, I've told you like my support network is like pretty solid. Like, so do you suggest maybe, because some people might be like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I have that person. So if they're listening, maybe have them like write down, like, who is your support network? Like, who is that one or two people you can call?
I encourage every single one of my clients and people I just talk to on a regular basis to find those people.
Yeah.
Find those people that you feel you can actually talk to if you're feeling uncomfortable. Yeah, definitely write it down, jot it down, or just go through in your mind if you're not a writer, as thinking, who do I enjoy talking to, or who do I feel I can talk to? Who's shown me that I can trust them if they're, if I'm going through something or I just need to chat for a while. Who's given me sound advice in the past? Or who's just been a good listener? Just questions to think about in regards to who you should select.
Yeah. No, that's real. Sometimes it's just about listening because sometimes I don't need you to say
Hmm.
anything. I don't need your advice. Like, I don't need any of that stuff. Um, does, okay. Does rehashing it by speaking on it or writing it down make you more depressed? Oh, it's a good one.
Okay.
It's a good one.
So on one hand, to answer your question, yes, it definitely does bring it back to the forefront if you're writing about it or talking about it. But to challenge that, I say, if you were completely over it, would it be bothering you at that moment in the first place? So while yes, you're rehashing it, but it's not exactly something that you've completely gotten over in the first place. So then writing it down could make you feel a little bit worse in regards to in that moment because you're writing about it. But at the same time, it's still affecting you in the first place.
So you would definitely suggest writing it in that moment to kind of almost release. Sounds like kind of releasing it
Mm-hmm.
in that moment instead of, it happened on Friday and now on Monday I'm writing like, Friday I felt, dear diary, Friday I felt like garbage, and
and
now the garbage is back.
and I guess I should say, think about what it is that you want to write as well. I would more so push people to start writing about how they're feeling at that moment
Mm,
instead of writing about the event, the
okay.
actual thing that's bringing you down. Um, because generally, for most of the time, you know what's brought you down. You know what's impacting you like that. So you don't have to write about the whole event, but you can write about how it's impacting you that day. You can write about what's going on in your thoughts and your feelings in that moment. See what I mean in regards to the
Yeah.
difference between just writing about what happened to you.
No, that's good. Oh, Naomi, wait, does rehashing it, speaking on it, writing it down make them more depressed? Oh, like the other person, Naomi? I mean, it's still the same concept, right?
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Let me know if that answered your question, Naomi. I'm sorry. Oh, Jenny, we got to answer this. How can loved ones help? Because I think it's important to talk about because
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of people don't, even like when my obviously both of my parents are passed, and a lot of people don't know what to say to me on a daily basis. But especially now, they're like, "Do I invite her over? Like, do we do this? Do we hang out?" Like, I don't know what to do, right? So she said, "How can loved ones help? I have a hard time knowing what to say, or if I'm even meant to say something, and just need to listen."
Okay. You said who has that? Janine?
Jenny, mm-hmm.
Okay. Just yep, want to make sure I'm addressing the right person and stuff. So loved ones can definitely help by listening. You can help by listening. If you don't know what to say, it's okay to say nothing and just be there and just be supportive. A lot of communication is nonverbal anyway. So as just your presence there can be helpful. You don't have to have the magic words to say. You don't have to have the magic action. Just by you being present, generally you'll find that allowing that person the space to just get through whatever powerful emotion they're feeling in that moment is supportive. And if
Yeah,
you feel like you have to say something and you don't know, it's okay to just let them know you're there.
that's good. J. Does that answer your question? I know I see y'all answering questions. I'm sorry if I'm missing your questions. Please let me. My eyes, they big, but I can't monitor. Sorry, guys. I think I got everybody's question so far. Sorry. I think so. I think I got everybody's question so far. Okay, good. And we did answer Naomi's question. Okay, perfect. 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 Oh God, I had a question and I just forgot. Y'all, I had
While
a
you
full question and I forgot.
while you're thinking about it, while you're thinking about it, and we're talking about seasonal grief, I want everyone to understand that this season and this seasonal grief is going to look a little different than pretty much most of the years that we've been through, and that's just due to the state of the world right now. So for a lot of people, there are a lot of
That's what it was gonna
traditions.
be. It was talking about that.
Oh,
Go ahead, Justin.
yeah,
You read my mind.
yeah, a lot of traditions this year. People can't do it. I've never heard of Zoom giving in my life, but that's a thing now.
It's a thing.
Um, it's things are going to look different, and I implore people to understand that it's okay if you can't do the same things that you did before. That doesn't make you any less of a person. It doesn't make you or your family or your circle. That doesn't say anything negative about you all. Everyone is just trying to survive this year.
And that is
So
enough.
give yourselves some understanding and some space, and just it's okay. And tell yourselves, guys, it's okay if you can't do certain things that you normally could do. So if you can't do the same type of Thanksgiving, you can't do the same type of Christmas, New Year's, all of that. It's okay. And that will because missing out on those traditions, that's one of the biggest causes of seasonal depression and seasonal grief.
Hmm.
So this year, even if you haven't traditionally had seasonal depression or seasonal grief, a lot of people will feel it for the first time.
I agree. That and that
Just
and that
based
was my
just based
question.
on that.
You read my mind. That was my question. I was about to be like, so let's dive into this coronavirus and
Yeah.
the grief is gonna come with that. But so to kind of piggyback off that, there's a couple of things that I heard and that I feel like when I listen to how it can go and how that seasonal depression, that seasonal grief can come about. So obviously, like you said, it's different. We're doing a Zoom giving or whatever. But what
Hmm.
about those people who have those family members who are like, well, no, like we can do this and we can do that. But in your mind, you're like, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't feel in a place to do that. This is my boundary, but you feel like you have to because you don't want to cause this person to be alone or to be in this space or whatever. So you feel like you may be the cause of this person having this seasonal, and again, and I say cause lightly, having this seasonal depression, having this seasonal grief, because I have my boundaries that I want to put up. I don't feel safe having a Thanksgiving with 20 people. I may have a Thanksgiving with 5 or 6 people, or I may have a Zooms giving where we're doing whatever, but I also don't want to push this person away. I don't want to put this person in a bad space. So, how do I deal with that when I'm trying to create my own boundaries for my own self? But I want to honor myself, but I also want to honor the person who may be in a bad place if I don't honor how they feel.
Okay. So
I know it's intense.
Yeah, no, this is one of those real answers. Um, that's it's interesting that that person places so much on you that just your presence alone completely controls their mood. That's a little bit manipulative. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just going to call it like I see it. If part of putting up a boundary is being able to stand firm in that boundary and recognize that this is your limit, this is what you feel comfortable doing. And anyone that would attempt to step over your boundary, then it's up to you to, I guess, hold firm and defend your boundary. And anyone that decides to let their mood and their state, their state of mind influence your boundaries, that's a bit of control, that's a bit of manipulation,
Mm,
which we all know that happens in friend circles and families especially, is that sort of manipulation. Well, this is how it's always been, so you got to come, this has to happen, and you don't you don't. And if you not showing up is the end all be all of everyone else's Thanksgiving, then it's almost as if everyone else is controlling you, and that's not healthy.
mm.
That seems like a very codependent, unhealthy relationship. If you aren't allowed to say no,
I don't have nothing to say. We're done, guys. Thanks.
just being real.
No, that's I mean, but honestly, like I'm seeing like good question, like because I feel like that may be a lot of what's happening because there are some people who are comfortable and they're like, it's fine, but I may not be in a space to be comfortable. Me and my family, they were all planning on coming down here, for Atlanta, but some circumstances changed and we can't do that. But we're gonna go and do a smaller like gathering, like again, less than 10, less than really 8, to make sure that we're comfortable and that the person who we're around is comfortable. But, there may be some people who, like you said, try and manipulate the situation to say, like, well, this is how it's always been. We always do this. I don't care nothing about that COVID. We can all get tested. Da, da, da. And it's like, I don't care if you get a test an hour before you come see me. I don't want you over here. It's a simple
Right.
concept. But then they might be like, well, so anyways, I'll go on a whole tangent. Let's see. Oh, Naomi, this is a long one, girl. Okay. As an empath, I take on so many people's feelings. This season has
Hmm.
been a lot with the grief. I try not to allow myself to go down that road, but how will I know if I may be going into a depression if my support system is me? And being a very private person, I don't talk to anyone. I swallow the issue and keep it moving. But when I'm completely full of it, I throw it all back up to the next one in line. How do I know if that's depression and not something else?
Well, you may not know exactly what it is, Naomi. You may not know exactly if it's depression or what else could be going on. But just in that question alone, there were quite a few flags. And I think, honestly, Naomi, I think you're even aware of them. Um, Being an empath, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that, but it sounds like sounds like one, you're taking on everyone's issues. And our job is never to take on anyone's issues. Guys, I'm a professional counselor. I don't take on people's issues though. That's the difference. I hear my clients, I help my clients, I talk with them, and then when their session's over, I'm done. I'm not taking their issues with me and feeling as if I have to turn around and fix their life. I will provide the tools, I will talk with them, and then I'm done. I'm on to the next one, and I'm not taking it home with me. And that's something that a lot of people tend to do is they talk with their friend about a situation, then they continue to live it mentally for a period of time. And you gotta know how to detach and pull away. So first, Naomi, you're taking on everyone's issues. That's a bit too much for any one person. That's one. Two, you it sounds like you're stuffing all of the issues that you are experiencing and not taking it to anybody or even a professional. um, and there's only so much water that can go into a cup before eventually it overflows, and it sounds like you overflow onto the next person that comes into your life. And well, I think you understand the problems that that can create in a life as well. So, but to answer your question directly, you don't know if it may be depression or something else, but we can, it sounds like you can start to make certain changes already in your own life before we can start to see if it's clinical depression. Sounds like there are some unhealthy habits that already could possibly be changed just to try to improve just to try to improve yourself and your quality of life, and then we can go from there.
That's good. That's good. So Naomi, he just gave you some wonderful tools. I'm in therapy myself. He knows he referred me to a wonderful therapist who I love. But Justin is also wonderful as well. If he's not full, he probably full, child. So good luck. But no, but honestly, like Naomi, like if you're not already in therapy, I would suggest it. That's I think that I had this conversation with somebody the other day. People feel like you need to go to therapy when something is wrong. And yes, it is good to go when something is wrong, but it's also good to just go for like a checkup. Like a lot of my
Sure.
friends who are married, they go for quarterly checkups just to make sure the tools that they had or what they're using, like we're good, but we just want to make sure there's nothing underlying, because again, feelings are tricky, emotions are tricky,
Right.
depression's tricky, all of these things are tricky. And so I just had a colleague or a past colleague of mine commit suicide, and he was a person who, anytime you saw him smiling, walking in the hallway, never met a stranger, like, so it was shocking, like, and I'm not saying that suicide is never not shocking, but it's just, it was very like, whoa, like, what are you talking about, And we felt like he suffered silently, like, because he wasn't
Mm-hmm.
going to see anybody, or I don't know if he was open. Again, I didn't dive deep into all of that, but I say all that to say that anybody who's watching who is thinking about going to a counselor, therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist, please do it. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not crazy for going to seek help. I know that's a
Right.
stigma in the Black community, which I have a whole episode, probably 4 episodes, on like just going to therapy and why it's so important and why it's so life changing. Um, you guys know my story enough now, and I went to therapy last year. I stopped going, and then I just started going again this year. And the things that I've unlocked in the past few months with my new therapist, I'm like, is this what you've been going through? Like, like you just don't know until you really start talking and unlocking those tools, like he said, that you have inside of you. Because I feel like a lot of times we have the tools inside of us, we just don't know how to use them. And so that's what you're there for. And that's why Justin is great. And I'm so thankful for you to always come on and just be available and like answer all these questions and talk about the seasonal grief and just talk about all these things. So that was a long way of saying thank you, Justin, number one. And number two, Naomi, if you're not or if you haven't gone to therapy, please go. And if anybody's watching, like, please go. Nothing is wrong with you for going to therapy. You're not a psychopath. You're not crazy.
Right.
Like, it's fine. It's fine. Their job is to literally listen to you how y'all are listening to me. So,
Pretty much.
um, the last question, I just want to make sure that I don't have any more questions. All good. Naomi said this has been great. Capitalized.
I'm glad we're able to help Naomi.
I know. I know. Last question is, what do you say to, because a lot of people, like you said, are going to be feeling it this year because of all the COVID stuff going on and people losing jobs. And
Mm-hmm.
what do you say to those people who feel like they don't have a right to be in a seasonal grief or seasonal depression? Because I've had a lot of people say to me, well, I can't say I don't deserve to be in the space that you are because you've lost your parents. Like how I'm feeling, like that's not even like your trauma. Basically, like people say to me, I feel like I can't say anything to you because your trauma is here and mine is here. And I always tell people,
Mm-hmm.
trauma is trauma. It doesn't
Yep.
matter if it's big trauma or little trauma. So what do you say to those people who feel like they don't have the right to be in a weird place during this time because other people have, bigger things going on?
Okay. So did Robin Williams. Um. So let's
Yikes.
see. So everybody has the right to experience whatever emotions they are currently going through, flat out. If there, if you feel like you do not have the right, I implore you to look and think about why you feel that way.
Mm,
And if there is someone in your life who is kind of making you feel as if you don't have the right to be upset or you don't have the right to feel certain emotions, my next thing is I implore you to think about how important that person is in your life. Nobody has the right to control anyone else's emotions or what they're going through. So it's funny. One of the things I wrote down before we even started was that one of the things I want people to do is you have to give yourself some understanding about your changing moods, especially this year. And you have to give yourself some space to feel those moods and understand that the mood swings that come with this type of year and this type of seasons and what you can and can't do, your financial situation, all of that, it's okay to feel how you feel. This is a very turbulent year. This is a very difficult year, and it's fine if it's bothering you. That's okay. That's to be expected. If there's something in your life that's making it feel like you can't be upset or you don't have the right to be mad or sad, mm-mm, that's not healthy. That's still another way of letting something else control your emotions. And you are in control of your own emotions. You are the master of your own ship. You are the captain of your own ship, guys.
I love that. I love that. So as he said, it's okay to feel how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. It's fine. Like this is a weird year. Like surviving is enough this year. If you
Right.
can't get all the gifts for your kids this year, again, I get it. I'll never say I understand because I don't have kids, but I can sympathize and empathize with you to feel that. Like it's fine. It's okay to feel how you feel. So
Right.
during this season, guys, if you're feeling weird, if you feel funny, reach out to that support network that he was talking about. Reach out to that one friend. Take time for yourself. Have that support network. So find that balance between being alone and also like having a support. So like do those things, feel how you feel, and just like survive. Just know, like if we haven't learned anything in 2020, surviving is enough.
It
Okay,
is.
surviving's enough. Surviving every single day, forget every month, every single day is enough. And I want y'all
Mm-hmm.
to understand that. And I tell people that all the time, like waking up and being okay is enough. Like literally, like people are dying from COVID. People are like there's political unrest happening, like people are losing their jobs, like there's so much going on this year. So surviving is enough, guys. And if y'all are having any issues at all during this season, just know you're not alone. It's okay. You're not crazy if you go to therapy. You're not crazy if you want to talk about it. You're not crazy if you have a day we want to get out the bed. It's okay. We're all in this together. So Justin, I want to thank you again. If you can just share your information so people can find you, talk to you. As you can see, you got some fans. Y'all know he the resident, he the resident counselor up here. Where can they find you at?
Um, the fastest way to find me is Justen DeBowles LPC.com. It's spelled exactly how like the Instagram is. If you just go to Justen DeBowles LPC.com, that has links to my Facebook, my Instagram, but easiest way to reach me is on there. That has my number, that has my email, um, that has the fastest way in order to get in touch with me.
Good. So you guys know how to get in touch with him. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss any questions. We're getting good comments. Thank y'all guys for listening again. If you haven't listened to episode 1 of season 2, we dive more into this. I give you guys some different tips on how to navigate this holiday grief. Like I said, this is my 5th year without my mom, 2nd year without my dad. So I've had to learn myself, with therapy and just other things. So you guys definitely listen, share it with your friends, share this live with your friends. If you're listening to the replay, thank you for listening. And yeah, guys, we're coming up on Thanksgiving. Be safe, be well, and just survive. I like hashtag. What's a hashtag? Hashtag.
Right.
I'm like, what's the hashtag? Hashtag survive 2020. That's all that matters. So thank you guys so much for listening. As I always say to you guys, I'm sending you guys love and light in your life because you deserve it. Give yourself kindness, give yourself grace, And we're going
Yep.
to make it, guys. It's all good. So we love you guys. Thank you so much. And I'll see you guys. I'm dropping a new episode this Friday, not Thursday, because it's Thanksgiving. I'm going to drop it Friday for you guys. So I will see you all on the next episode.